good morning and welcome to Doppler'S Gear Garage. I hope wherever you are, whatever it is that you're going to be doing today, it's going to be awesome. Let's start off with a little tradition. Let's raise them up. I needed that. Drinking a little Pete's coffee. Let me know where it is that you're coming from and what it is that you might be brewing this morning. Always a pleasure to be able to hang out with all my good friends. Next Saturday, I don't have a... Oh, good. I don't have a good Texas song, but I'm going to be in Texas at the Dallas International Guitar Festival, which means I'm not going to be here. So I apologize that we're not going to get a chance to hang out. I will, in theory, be back the following week. So I look forward to seeing y'all then. But in the meantime, we're going to have a great time hanging out today. Eric, Stevie Ray Vaughan, hello. John Sign... Can you, phoneticize that for me? I think I've tried this before. Kirk... says that this guitar in the middle position, said middle position there. Sounds like a Strat. It's Strat-ish. The neck position. Sounds more Stratty to me. But either way, it's a great sounding guitar. First of all, Jimmy Ward, good morning. So, there we go. Sinkowicz. Okay, good. Well, good morning, Nandini. Hello. I am looking forward to seeing you in Texas. All right. First of all, Melissa, thanks for jumping in on the chat here. Appreciate that. All right, Jimmy, hey. Sonia, good morning to you. I missed your birthday. Happy birthday to you. Raising them up for you. Great to see you this morning. I got your cabinet back here. Hang on a second. And I hate to say it, I'm not giving it to you for your birthday, but it is back there. So, Sonia, like myself, is a fan of those Mesa Boogie halfback cabinets. And they sure do sound great. And I'm in the process of kind of putting together this room. Didn't quite finish everything that I wanted to this morning, but by the next time I see y'all, I should have a bunch of this stuff finally wrapped up. Very excited about that. Tom Atkins, good morning. In the midst of my studio clean, look what I came across. Hey, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. The Tom Atkins, sorry, a little out of focus. There we go. Hi, Tom. Hey. So in any case, I do not have a CD player in here, but I am looking forward to actually dropping this bad boy into a CD player when I get one installed here. So absolutely, Sonia. So I hope you had a great birthday. So awesome. And Tom, with pleasure. Okay, so first of all, I'm always looking for, some way to kind of make this fun, exciting, new, and a little bit different. So I wanted to start things off with something that is a little bit different today. So it's called What the... And so the thing is that, the interesting thing is my buddy Fluff has these something ridiculous reverb listings. And actually, before he started doing that, I kind of... I had basically the same idea, but I didn't really want to seem like I was plagiarizing my good buddy. So what we've got here is What the, which is a combination of some funny things that I run across on both Craigslist and Reverb that I just got to kind of go, hey, what in the world were they thinking? And some of these things are, things that I would love to get your feedback on. Good idea or bad idea. So here we have a new take on the half rack. And I'd love to know what this person was thinking. I guess they just wanted to have a half a rack. So in any case, thoughts in the chat are welcome. I can view them as I'm kind of rocking down here. Hang on a second. Let me extend that window. Or you're not going to let me extend you. There we go. There we go. Oh, you're going to extend from the top. That's what you wanted to do. Or something like that. Come on. Let me. All right. In any case, this is, yeah, exactly. So, Paul Richard, good morning. Oh, soccer practice. Look at you. Griffin Gaines, good morning. Griffin, let me get to the short answer is no, not yet. So, and Griffin's question is about that new Joe Bonamassa amp, but we'll get to these amps behind me in just a moment. So this guy literally, and the funny thing is, if you look at the job that he did, at least I'm presuming it's a he actually cut it really evenly, but like basically it means the whole concept of having a rack is it's supposed to protect your gear. So if you ever take this thing out in the rain, not necessarily the best idea in my opinion. So definitely qualifies in the what the category. Then there's this. Now, this is one that's actually not a bad idea, but it's just so off-putting when you look at it. So the DD7, as I recall, actually has a mode already. Whether this person knew that or not, we're going to presume that they did, that you can actually use the actual kind of on-off foot switch as a tap tempo. As I recall, you hold it down and it goes, there you go. It goes into tap tempo mode. And then you also have an expression jack for tap tempo and expression, which you may not see as I'm mouse overing. But this foot switch on the top of it, yeah, I just kind of think it's a bad idea all the way around. Now, the funny thing is that I actually think this may be somebody, I recall seeing somebody, kind of majorly professional having done this. So I want to be careful what I say. But initially when I looked at this, I was just kind of like, wait a second, what? All right, or should I say, what the? So then there's this. First of all, this is the loudest pedal I've seen in a long time. But I was thinking about the form factor. I was like, and the last time I said anything slightly controversial, somebody was on air and I spoke ill of their favorite guitar. And so I'm never going to make that mistake again. So this may be somebody's favorite pedal. But this shape makes absolutely no sense for your average pedal board. It's a total waste of space. I don't know what these folks were thinking. And I will go so far as to go out on a limb that maybe they should find a new graphic designer. Then there's this one. Now, this one kind of is an interesting thing because, there are many folks that would say, Leo Fender, by kind of angling the bridge pickup even closer to the bridge at the treble side, arguably went in the wrong direction. Well, on this particular piece of Jackson gear, they figured it might be kind of cool to angle the neck pickup such that the neckmost part of the coil and the basemost part of that single coil there, or whatever stack that is, gets even bassier. I've never had a problem with the neck pickup not being bassy enough on the bottom strings. I mean, it might actually sound great, but to me, you're kind of headed in. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Oh, is that the previous comment from before? It's all kind of a bad idea all the way around. That's from before. In any case, I thought that was kind of fun, and I just wanted to add, dare I say, a little bit of humor to the midst of all of this stuff, just because it's, every so often I'm going through this stuff and I'm like, what could they possibly be thinking? Now, within the framework of the way this little whole dealio traditionally works, is I love to use this as kind of an office hour talking about things. And I actually, I don't know if any of y'all have seen some of the presentation stuff from the folks at Guitar Mastery Method, but I happen to sit in, because I'm always wanting to see what other music educators are doing. And I happened to sit in on a live stream they were doing the other day, and they were largely kind of talking about chords and inversions and playing different inversions up and down the neck for the same groups of chords. And it kind of got me thinking about, how can you get people working in kind of, if you will, a common diatonic key like the key of G major is kind of one of my favorites, but also kind of getting a little bit closer to capturing the sound of each of the different modes. So I don't necessarily know how this is going to sound. But the idea was basically to take the 1 chord, the 7 chord, and then the 4 chord of the 1 chord, and basically take that as a kind of a motif, kind of that you. And use it to outline each of the different modes. So let's say we wanted to do it for Phrygian. See, I'm going to set up. Sorry, 2 chord. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go basically 3, 2, 6, back to the 3. So we're really good at setting up that tonal center there. We can go for the Kirk setting. That way the tonal center. So let's take that back to the 1. I've lost the ability to think. 1 chord. 7 chord, 4 chord, 1 chord. Sit there. Two chord. Good. It actually works. That was kind of, usually I kind of hang out as I'm in the shower going like, what am I going to do today? And that was kind of the basic concept that dropped on me. And it actually kind of, once I got the rhythm right and I figured out what key I was in, it works really well. So again, conceptually speaking, I think a lot of people struggle with a couple of main challenges as they go to play music. Number one, at the top of the list, playing the same stuff over and over in the same keys. Now, I must admit, I do suffer a little bit from what Mr. Satriani used to refer to as G disease, and playing relative to the key of G major would be a symptom of that. But the idea about that is it allows you to kind of see the neck in a common key. And so if you were going to go, you're going to go 1, 7, 4, 1. And then basically cut and paste that same movement. And be able to use that to set up each one of these different modes. It gives you the ability to kind of create modes on the fly. And the thing that's cool about it is you would be doing it for G major, A Dorian, B Phrygian, C Lydian, D mixed Lydian, E minor, F sharp Locrian, and G major, which for some folks, it was really interesting watching. I realized you're not quite the same crowd that was tuned into that particular group. What the guitar mastery method people do really well is for advanced beginners and intermediate players. They really bring that group of people, and a big group of people, along with what they're doing. This is a slightly different group of folks, thankfully. Not that I have anything against advanced beginners, but being able to work with people that are a little bit longer in the tooth in terms of being studied is always means that you're not quite having to break things down quite as much as I may be doing some of the other content I'll be doing. But the point being is, how do you get people used to being able to navigate the modes in a way they can go, I don't know, I want to play in, I don't know, B Phrygian. And there are other more eloquent ways to do it, but what's neat is this is a motif that you can use to set up the sound of all 7 modes. Then you could say, okay, then go, well, let's do A major. Let me make sure I outline the 7th. So there's basically the 1 chord 7, 4. All right, so Dorian. Phrygian. Lydian. Mixed Lydian. 1. Minor. And Loquin. Sorry. The thing about Loquin that a lot of people don't get. What am I doing wrong here? 7/3. No. It's actually a pretty sounding mode. Sorry, not with really natural 5. And so on and so forth. All right, gosh darn it. So that's what I have to say about that. Nobody's saying nothing. I'm just be like, he's out of his mind. He's talking about modes again. All right. So with that said, that out of the way, let me just run back, recap for anybody that was like, wait a second, what was he talking about? Just taking the key of G major. 1 chord, 7 chord, 4 chord. 2 chord, 1 chord, 5 chord. 3 chord, 2 chord, 6 chord. 4 chord, 3 chord, 7 chord. 5 chord, 4 chord, 1 chord. 6 chord, 5 chord, 2 chord. 7 chord, 6 chord, 3 chord, 1 chord, 7 chord, and 4 chord, and then taking that and just cutting that and pasting that. Hey, what's going on, Stephen? Good morning. Hello. And then cutting and pasting that and playing that down at A. So you just get used to changing all of those over to common root. The idea being we use the key of G major as a jumping off point. And then what we do is we then just kind of go, hey, well, what if we just cut and paste all that stuff at A? That gets us used to having kind of, if you will, a motif that we can use to set up the sound of each of the modes. Not necessarily the coolest, quote unquote, sexiest thing musically, but it works. And one of the things that people quite often have a hard time. Kyle Harrison, what's going on, my man? Kyle is an old, well, not that old, but a very dear friend. We were actually neighbors when I was going to GIT, and fellow Gibson fanatic. What Kyle doesn't know is that I am a member of the Gibson family now, very thankfully so. So, Kyle, I hope you're having a Gibson day. Great to see you, my friend. All right. First of all, again, one of the Griffin, I'm going to hit your questions in just a second. One of the common challenges that people have is like, look, all right, I can kind of run a bunch of fingerings, and I can start off of Dorian or Phrygian or whatever, but how do I really evoke the sound of each of the modes? And ultimately, the sound of the modes is ultimately a reflection of the sound of the progression that we're playing over. So having a motif that we can use to cut and paste, or you can steal the concept and then kind of create your own version of that, is a great way to at least be able to kind of go, okay, I've set up the tonal center. Now I'm learning to kind of evoke the sounds of that mode. In turn, we have a tendency to play in common keys over and over, so we went to A. Now, for most of us, if we're going to play the minor pentatonic, A is a pretty common place to go, but not for A major and A Dorian and A Phrygian and A Lydian and A mixed Lydian, playing all those different modes. At A, that's not necessarily something that is as common for, quote-unquote, the majority of us. That most of us don't have a thing that we do, like how do we kind of learn to take a motif chord progression and then use that to trigger the sound of each of the 7 different modes. And in turn, the thing about A is because, it's kind of, if you will, in this middle spot in the first octave of the guitar, and that gives you a place to go lower, which is one of the things about, although I spend a lot of time in the key of G, getting down below G as your starting point, you start to engage the open strings, and it can be a little bit messy for a key, for example, that's got a B flat instead of a B. So the point being, A is a good place to try this at. Eddie O'Brien, thank you very much, my friend. I haven't actually been very active on social media, but for those of you who missed it, Eddie, and the computer bag's not down here. Eddie, who's a very dear old friend, was kind enough to give me an actual Eddie Van Halen pick from the 1984 tour with the man's DNA on it. So thank you. Very, very, very... Oh, well, there you go. In the midst of my room clean, I ran across these. So this was from the Van Halen 3 World Tour and backstage meeting. So, gosh darn it, it was just, yeah, a piece of history. In any case, thanks, Eddie. All right. So, in any case, for those of y'all, I'm not seeing any comments about the mode thing. Am I just kind of like fishing in the wrong pond? Are there no mode freaks out there? Let me know, people. All right. In any case, moving right along. Oh, thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate that. Have a great rehearsal. Make it a great one. All right. So, Griffin, I have not played that amp, but this right here. Yeah, you can tell by the stains. That's an original high-powered twin, and that is the Joe Bonamassa high-powered twin that's on loan from a friend of mine at Fender, who designed it with Joe Bonamassa. So, what's better than one but two? So I'm been frantically cleaning this room so I can get back into the recording process. And Eddie, per the pick you kindly gave me, I basically haven't been doing anything on social media because I've been trying to get this room clean. Back there, the amp racks are kind of almost ready to go. I've got the switcher, and it's going to enable me to kind of get this room up and running, such that as I'm doing the overdubs, then I actually start doing some social media, and so on and so forth. So, modes are good stuff. Thank you very much. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. You got my back, and I look forward to seeing you in Texas. All right. Awesome. Thanks, Steve. Great to see you. Always a pleasure. All right, excellent. Thank you, Paul. The mode freaks are listening, soaking in it. Awesome. Yeah, that kind of like, how do we kind of steep in the modes, like T, if you will. All right, in any case, I have not played the JB amp because I've got this loan from the guy that also did that. What is it? It's kind of the dual professional, right? What is it, a 58 DP? What are the call letters on that? Hold on. The JB48. So I have not had a chance to play that amplifier yet, and I haven't had the nerve to reach out since this guy is on extended loan. I was, in theory, supposed to return this guy when I was driving down to the NAMM show, and I reached out to my buddy and I said, hey, can I keep it a little bit longer because I'm behind in the recording process? And he very kindly said yes. but it's a great sounding amp, and the two of them together is very cool. All right. Ron Martin, pedal notes help a lot. I love mode talks. All right, thank you. All right, affirmation. Thank you very much. Obviously, I needed that. So I'm gonna riff on that real quick, and then we're gonna kind of talk about a couple of other things. Ron, at one of the guitar camps, and I think it was a Steve Vai camp, I kind of did this thing. One of the things, I'm gonna go a little bit deeper on this because, gosh darn it, I feel like it. Just as a little bit of, preamble, the first thing that I'm working on in terms of content that people can purchase is this concept of 15-minute fundamentals. And I'm actually already going over it with my students. And the concept is that you've got this 24-hour day. Hold on, let's try that again. 24-hour day, 8 hours, let's say we're going to dedicate to sleeping, 8 hours to work, and then there's this other 8 hours. How is it that we don't seem to be able to find, let's not even say an hour, 15 minutes of dedicated hardcore practice? More importantly, when I came back and sat down this morning, because the amount of work that I'm doing, and I'll share this with you. Here's the thing: we're friends, so I can tell you about my life. So let's 7-minute abs. Oh, Tom, you are a man after my own heart. So what you don't know is we've been actually talking about 6-minute abs. So obviously we're talking about something about Mary. So in that movie, of course, there's a stalker / mass murderer that he gives a ride to, and I think he's got a body in a body bag when he picks him up. But the point being is that, and not that stalking's funny. So, but the point being is that not that mass murders are funny either. Just to clarify, but the concept is, how do we actually kind of get to a place where, the analogy I've been making with my students is as follows. Step into my office. I love that, Tom. And really in many ways, this is kind of like office hours for my students where, I was thinking about this morning. It's like I've got a really busy day teaching, but I'm thinking like, how incredibly lucky am I in the midst of kind of all the weirdness that's happening in the economy? I've got all these incredibly faithful students, and a big part of what I love to do on Saturdays is, whether it's for my students or friends, largely I know from the guitar camps. So in a sense, there is a student kind of relationship, but I like to think of people more like my friends than kind of like that. Brent Milligan, what's going on, my man? My Saturday is better. I love that. Okay, this is going to be so much fun. Yes, please do go deeper on the modes. I wish I had a guitar with me. All right, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. This concept of the 15-minute fundamentals is like, I've been doing this crazy studio clean, and there's an upstairs room that's going to become Doppler's Vintage Vault. So a bunch of the stuff that was here had to get moved up there. And if you've ever done a studio clean, trying to do it in 2 rooms simultaneously is like basically losing your mind, because you take one step forward, you move one thing, and 3 other things had to kind of get dislocated, discombobulated to get anything done. It's really a practice in self-discipline as to why you create places for things and let them live there. But sometimes when you move stuff around, you don't have a new place for things yet, and you have to do that. In the midst of all of that, I haven't played that much over the past couple of days. So last night, I've hardly played at all, actually. And I sat down to the guitar last night, and I was like, who's that guy? Because he doesn't sound much like me. And that whole process of, when you don't feel connected with the instrument, what do you do to get reconnected? And how can you, within reason, not become that person, right? So it got me back to the whole 15-minute fundamentals thing, which is more or less the core exercises from diatonic theory and harmony. And the idea is that with running through them at 80 beats per minute, you can run through this excessively large range of things, including the note location, all patterns of the pentatonic, open position chords, bar chords, 7 chords, second finger root modes, 3-note per string modes with alternate picking and with legato. and then also the mode spelling exercise, where it's basically the equivalent of ear training: major 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, Dorian 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 1, Phrygian. But you're now assigning scale degree numbers as opposed to calling this a major second and calling this a minor second, right? We're going, if you will, major 2, 3, Dorian 2, flat 3, Phrygian flat 2, flat 3. And so the idea is that by running through all of that stuff, it's kind of like the analogy I made was, if you ate at Burger King every day for 15 minutes, you would look like you ate at Burger King every day for 15 minutes. And it wouldn't take that long to do it. Same thing with running through the fundamentals every day for 15 minutes. It means that your hands are just going to have those things practice. And it's the other thing about something you do with repetition like that. Let's say 5 of 7 days a week, and actually then can consistently do it. One of the biggest challenges people have as players, myself included, is we go, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do it every day, and I'm going to do this, blah, 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 blah. And then we have a list of I blah, 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 and I didn't blah, blah, blah. And after a while, you begin to get deflated because you get all excited and you kind of go, no, this time I'm going to do it. And if you have enough, this time I'm going to do it, and then I didn't do it, it begins to bog you down a little bit. And I think we all suffer from that. I know we all suffer from that. So the point being is, how do you make it small enough and pungent enough that you're like, this is going to be great? The next piece beyond that is ear training. The next core material that I'm going to be offering is ear training for guitar players, which is hey, Joel Hellman, what's going on, my man? You are awesome. Thank you. Great to see you, my friend. Brad Jensen, hello, my friend. Okay, so here's the deal. Is that separate from this kind of this little business that where we're going 1 chord, 7 chord, 4 chord, 2 chord, 1 chord, 5 chord, 3 chord, 2 chord, 6 chord, so on and so forth, to set up, and then kind of taking all that kind of and setting it up at this one location to set up the sounds of the modes. There is the idea of getting your ear sorry. Used to hearing the sound of each of the individual scale degree numbers against the root, so you really get a sense. That's some weird polka mode thing. I don't know what to call that. But your ear begins to recognize these things. And so the ability to hear a melody so that was taking the 3, 4, 5, 6, 5 through major, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, sorry, mixed Lydian, minor, Locrian, back to major. And you can always hit that after we got to Locrian, right? You could hear cyclically, at least I'm used to hearing the sound of the major Dorian Phrygian. Playing through them in a cycle like that, you get used to doing it. So, so if you got a pencil and want to write it down, the concept is going 3, 4, 5, 6, 5, no matter what rhythm you do. taking that same kind of motif is essentially the same thing we were doing with chords, where you get used to hearing that melody permutated. And I would say as a source for that, when I was going to GIT, Howard Roberts came and did this thing where he took Mary Had a Little Lamb, which is in major, and he reharmonized the whole thing in minor, and then he played it backwards because he was that kind of guy. But what was really interesting was to hear him reharmonize a piece of music in real time, and you realized he had not only a command of that, but part of it, again, is getting back to what it is that if we eat at Burger King for 15 minutes every day, sooner than later we're going to look like we eat at Burger King 15 minutes every day. But if in part of our guitar activity, if you will, recess from whatever it is that we're trying to do when we're writing or recording or whatever it is, that we kind of go, well, how can I kind of have some fun with stuff? So let's use Mary as an example. The ability, and this is kind of gets back to the scale singing thing. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had a student who actually he was in a band when he was in. Dave Morrison, what's going on? Happy Saturday to you, my friend. If I knew the theme for "Oh Canada," I would play it, but unfortunately I don't. But how about Mary Had a Little Lamb instead? But the neat thing is that one of the things we begin to discover. Most of us have known the theme and the melody for Mary Had a Little Lamb for a long time. But if we were asked to sit down and play it on the instrument, we would have a really hard time with it. And it's because, as guitar players, we're much more used to go playing licks that we've played a bunch of times and playing them ad nauseum, which is one of the reasons we get bored. We begin to sound like we eat at Burger King every day for 15 minutes because we're just repeating the same stuff over and over. And it's a fine line between repetition. Matter of fact, I want to take just a quick moment and have a little sidebar about this because I've been thinking about this a lot. Is at what point, kind of one of my, I don't know, my kind of signature licks that I'm trying to develop is this pentatonic thing. And also, and at one point am I playing it so much that I'm kind of like, oh, that's boring. And at one point, does it become more of a signature type of thing, right? So it's a fine line between doing the things that you know when people hear you play it, that they kind of go, oh, that's the thing that they play. That's kind of, I can tell by the things that they're playing who that is, right? So then that's separate from kind of like, well, what else do you do to begin to on-ramp new ideas? And how do you play the old licks? In a way that still got some fire to them, right? Cisneros. Great to see you, my friend. I look forward to seeing you very soon. Hello, my brother. Great to see you. All right. So the point being is there's a fine line between the stuff that we do that's repetitive and there's the stuff that we're doing when we repeat certain ideas very purposefully versus accidentally begins to happen. So getting back to this Mary Had a Little Lamb business, one of the big mistakes that people make is that we play next door notes all the time, unless we're doing some sort of octave jump. Most every note. Even something like that where you're changing registers, have a tendency, Jimmy, you're awesome. Great to see you. Good morning, my friend. They have a tendency to be connected together. So how do we, And, again, we have a tendency to also kind of go, we're going forward, we're going backward, we're going up, we're going down. How do we play things that aren't like that? Well, we start to find other melodies that maybe give us the idea of not doing things that are next door to each other. And, part of that is not playing things that are convenient musically on the guitar. So Mary is a good example here. And in the midst of all of this, hiding inside all of this stuff are some really great musical lessons for us to kind of unpack. Na 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 na. Let's just take that one da na na na. So many people have never had any kind of formal ear training. So how do I tell that this is the perfect fifth? If this is the perfect fifth, I'm going a whole step above there. That's a 6. There's the 5, 4. A whole step below the 5 is the 4. A half step below the 4 is the 3, and a whole step below the 3 is the 2. And that means a whole step below there. When I get back to the root, it should be the 1, 1, 1, 5, 5, 6, 6, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 5, 5, 6, 6, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. Right? And so, the interesting thing that I find myself doing, I think we all do this sometimes, there are things that we play with in a fingering, and then sometimes there are things that we shift out of that fingering. I would encourage you to learn to do both interchangeably. So that is to say, and have some knowledge of what's happening in terms of the note names. Because ultimately, one of the challenges that people who come from a classical piano background and go to play more open music is they're so used to having the notes scripted. But one of the great things about having the notes scripted is they actually know what note they're playing because they're reading it on the staff. So the idea is if we can think about, let's take the key of C because it's going to be a little bit more friendly. Not a great key for me to sing in, but 1 1 1 1 5 5 6 6 5 4 4 3 3 2 2 1 5 5 4 4 3 3 2 5 5 4 4 3 3 2 1 1 5 5 6 6 5 4 4 3 3 2 2 1. So the point being is that's kind of at this very simple C major fingering that just about everybody should know. And if you need to do it out of the 3-note string, 1 1 5 5 6 6 5 4 4 3 3 2 2 1 5 5 4 4 3 3 2 5 5 4 4 3 3 2 1 1 5 5 6 6 5 4 4 3 3 2 2 1. So whether it's the second finger root C major, which I would suggest using because you can see these chord shapes inside there. But beginning to not only think about that as 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1, but also C D E F G A B C. So you can go C C G G. C C G G A A G F F E E D D C G G F F E E D G G F F E E D G G C C C G G A A G F F E E D D C. Easier said than done, but when you get used to being able to do that, then you can kind of go, all right, well, let's make it a little harder. All right, A, and this is one of the other things is how do you begin to negotiate the notes of the different keys? A great way to be able to do this is to start with the triads. I met Lindy Day. At some point, she may or may not make a guest appearance on the show, but she's a fellow music educator on Instagram and on TikTok. She is crushing it. And we'll shelve the conversation about TikTok for another day in terms of the implications of facial recognition and voice profiling. Different conversation. But the point being is one of the things, I'm a bit of a theory geek. C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, F, E, C, G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F, C, E, G. So being able to take the triad C, E, G, C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, F, A, C, G, B, D, A, C, B, D, F, C, E, G. So that's basically taking the notes of a C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, and B diminished triad. Curtis Lamberton, what's going on, my man? Great to see you at NAMM. Thanks for stopping by. Give the drummers some. Hold on. There we go. So awesome. Thank you for hanging out today, man. Appreciate it. Okay, so here's the thing. How do we begin to get, how do we on-ramp to learning notes if we've never done it? Well, these triads are a really great way to begin to do that. And one of the things you can begin to do is to take For example, the notes of C major. Brian Felix, great seeing you at NAM, my friend. Trust you're doing great. Say hi to Kathy. You can take the notes of C major and think of it as, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think if this is 6 because I've already done 5, there's 6, 7, and 1. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And what you can begin to do is kind of cycle through those, if you will, for C major, and then D Dorian, and so on and so forth. So it would be basically C major would be C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. D Dorian, we're still thinking of, as we think about the Dorian mode, compared to the major scale. If I played C major, and I took its second note, and started the scale from there, but then took that fingering and moved down to there, compared to this major, that Dorian has a flat 3 and a flat 7. So if you go this third note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that 7th note, comparatively, the Dorian's got a flat 3 and a flat 7. But if we just kind of think of like trying to track the notes of C major, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and D Dorian, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, and E Phrygian, E, F, G, so on and so forth, makes it easy to be able to go C, E, and that is to say, instead of going C, D, E, F, G, you just go C, and spend some time actually going C, D, E, F, G, C, E, G, D, E, F, G, A, D, F, A. And sooner than later, you're able to go C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, F, A, C, G, B, D, A, C, E, B, D, F, and then C, E, G. C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, F, A, C, G, B, D, A, C, B, D, F, C, E, G. And the neat thing about that is that the 1, 3, and 5, on the upper side of the 1 is the 2. On the upper side of the 3 is the 4. On the upper side of the 5 is the 6. On the lower side, if you will, of the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or I should say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, is the 7. So it means if you know what the 1, 3, and 5 are, you can find the 2, because it's on the upper side of the 1. You can find the 4, because it's on the upper side of the 3. You can find the 6, because it's on the upper side of the 5. And you can find the 7, because it's on the lower side of the 1. So it makes it very, hey, Bobby Valdez, what's going on? Hold on a second. What's going on? Hold on. YouTube looked like it was all happy. Hang on a second. I appreciate that, Bobby. You need to change your video resolution. Thank you. That has never happened. Okay. Oh, edit. Okay. I know. Are you going to let me change this? I love it when they change stuff in the background. Details. I know exactly what's happening. As a genius, what I decided to do, and it has not been a problem thus far, is that I started streaming at... Oh, interesting. No, I'm getting that open widget. Hang on a second. All right, let's open the widget. Error. Stream status poor. Video current resolution. Okay, now I'm going to leave this running, but I am getting an error as well. Okay, so I'm just going to roll with. Thanks, guys. Appreciate the feedback. Okay, moving forward. This concept of the triads enable you to kind of begin to go. The CEG DFA gives you a great way to begin to on-ramp the notes of the keys, because if we're thinking about those triad note groups, there's this alphanumeric, that is, say, if you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's always going to be the first note of the key, the second note, third note, fourth note, and fifth note. That enables people, once you begin to realize, all right, the smallest distance between any two adjacent notes is a half step, and the largest distance between any two adjacent notes is a whole step. It's why you would go for the key of G Dorian, G, A, B flat, as opposed to G, A sharp. Some people kind of get confused around this, and without an understanding of why this relationship right here. First of all, it's called a minor third, which implies that there's a note in between the 1 and the 3, like some sort of 2. But the thing is that if you just kind of go, well, I don't know whether it's an A sharp or a B flat, well, it's a good idea to know why it's going to be one or the other. And basically, if it's more than a half step or a whole step, it's got to be subdivided with some other thing in between. The further you get, the more subdivisions you get, harmonically speaking. So that is to say, the second note of G minor pentatonic is, and that's one of the places where you're like, well, wait a second. If you don't know the formula of the minor pentatonic, as in 1, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7, 1, makes it even harder to kind of go, well, I don't know whether to call that an A sharp or a B flat. Well, the easier answer is, because it's a step and a half from G to B flat, it's got to be either subdivided by a whole step and a half step, or a half step and a whole step. And that is to say, if you look at the major scale, that little relationship right there, that relationship right there, that relationship right there, and yes, it occurs right here, but the thing about the Locrian mode, has a flat 5 instead of a natural 5, so it doesn't really work for the minor pentatonic. The point being, that is needing to be subdivided by either a half step and a whole step, as in if you take the first, second, third, and fourth notes of the major scale, the second, third, and the fourth, or the third, fourth, and the fifth, or the sixth, seventh, and the first. And technically, if you're just looking at the interval alone, the seventh, first, and second. But the point being is that's a minor third no matter how you slice and dice it, and there's either a whole step and a half step, or a half step and a whole step between those two notes, which means if this is some sort of G, there's going to be some sort of A in between, and this is going to be some sort of B, even if you don't play the A note. So this is going to be G and B flat, G and B. All right, so the point being is that one of the ways we get used to working with these different keys, we go, okay, this is going to go a little bit deep, but now I need to do something here. I just need to check something here on YouTube, and it may start spitting out some noise here. So I just need to see what it's doing when I watch this locally. All right, it's playing. I'm not seeing the error message here, but I am seeing it in the interface. So thank you for that heads up. Weird. Okay. And thanks, by the way, all the people that tune in on YouTube. That actually is a help and appreciated. So ditto with the people on Facebook. All right. So here we go. So if we take these triads, C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, and we move to the key of, for example, A major. All right, for those of us that are triad, I don't know, literate, if you will, if you take the first, third, and fifth notes of major, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, mixed Lydian, and minor, the sixth chord, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the note based off the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 note major scale, which is where you start the minor scale, which is a 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1, and that 1, flat 3, and 5 is where that chord comes from. You're literally just going, hey, we're taking the first, third, and fifth notes of that minor scale, which compared to a major scale is a 1, flat 3, 5, and instead of playing it down here, we're playing it up an octave, and we're playing it as a chord. So the deal is, if we took that chord and play it down at A, it'd be A, C, and E. But if we want to take it and turn it into an A major, it becomes A, C sharp, and E. And so by knowing the triads for the key of C, as in C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, so on and so forth, when we get to the C, E, G, D, F, A, E, G, B, F, A, C, G, B, D, A, C, E is a minor triad. We need a major triad, so that's going to be A, C sharp, and E. So what it means is, kind of without necessarily knowing a lot about the A major scale yet, if we kind of know that, again, that, if you will, the sixth chord is a minor chord. And if we're in the key of C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor is an A minor chord, so those notes are going to be A, C, E. And if we wanted to play the major scale, and at least just the first, third, and fifth notes, it's going to be those notes. So if this is A, C, and E, A, C sharp, and E. So for some folks, that makes total sense. For other folks, like, okay, I think I got conceptually what's happening. What it means, if you memorize those triads for those different keys and kind of figure out what number that bass note was functioning at in that key, it helps you be able to decipher what the notes are going to be for the triad for G major, A major, B major, C major, D major, E major. In this particular case, what we were talking about doing was taking, Mary had a little C, 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 G, G, A, A, G, F, F, E, E, D, D, C. But what if we go to some key like A major that's not quite as friendly? Well, again, what we did was we went to the key of C, whose notes are C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. We kind of hung out at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 note, which is going to be A, and those notes would be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. But we need to play the major scale here. It's another way to get there. So if you just play the minor scale, the notes are A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, but we need to play the major scale. The A and the B are the same, the C becomes a C sharp, the D's the same, the E's the same, the F becomes an F sharp, the G becomes a G sharp. So we end up with A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. A, G, all right. A, E, F sharp, E, D, D, C sharp, B, B, A. E, D, D, C sharp, B, E, D, D, C sharp, B, A, E, F sharp, A, E, D, D, C sharp, B, B, A. That's easy for you to say. So the concept there, though, is you get comfortable remotely with being familiar with the note names. And I promise you, by the time you've gone A, E, F sharp, E, D, D, C sharp, B, B, A, E, D, D, C sharp, B, E, D, D, C sharp, B, A, E, F sharp, E, D, D, C sharp, B, B, A. You'll probably be familiar with A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, and that last note is going to be a G sharp. And then you start to have some fun with it. A, E, F sharp, E, D, D, C, B, B, A. That's Dorian. All right, now I'm going to do it for Phrygian. A, E, F, E, D, D, C, B flat, A. And then, so what is happening is we're learning to more or less spell the mode, as in, and on a harmonic basis, 1, 5, flat 6, 5, 4, flat 3, flat 2, 1, but saying the note name instead. A, E, F, E, D, C, B flat, A. And so it's a great on-ramp to get comfortable with seeing the note names. So why does that matter? Because if we can go, the melody is A, E, F, E, D, D, C, B flat, A. So A and E, I can find E at the 12th fret on the E string. You also begin to go, hey, I now know what the notes of A Phrygian are. Now, a couple of things begin to happen is I still play a lot of neighbor notes, but I am now free to go, okay, well, there's A. Sorry, I want a B flat. So one of the things that begins to happen when we play in common keys is our fingers, and this is one of the reasons, like, if I'm playing in G, A, or E, and I go to play Locrian, I'll be darned if I don't play that natural 5 repeatedly because I'm so used to playing it. Have to be really conscious of not hitting the 5 and playing the flat 5 instead. There's a lot of muscle memory that begins to happen. But as we begin to think about things in terms of the note names, we have a much easier time of being able to just kind of go, oh, okay, there that is. And this is one of the neat things about this, is if we play the same patterns over and over in the same place, how do we find some new ways to approach playing the notes of the key? And one of them is learning to have a much better linear sense so you can begin to do that. And then zooming out a level, which is one of the things that guitar players sort of think about. So if I think about A minor pentatonic, and I think about registers, usually what I think about we think about moving between patterns. We're not as conscious as we arguably should be about of using the different registers to create a lift. To take our melodic structure from place to place. And when we're stuck playing the same fingerings over and over, and the same thing will go true if you think about these floors that we stop off with the elevator. After a while, we can like, oh, furniture, second floor. We kind of have a tendency to do the same thing. But at least what we're doing is we're thinking about the guitar in terms of its registers. And where that matters is eventually if you think about kind of like my lower, middle, and my upper register, you begin to kind of go, well, what happens if I'm in some key like C? Right. And sometimes you have to find some not as friendly fingering and learn to whip that register into shape. But after a while, you kind of go, okay, I can do that. And so, arguably, and if we're thinking right, those notes are going to be C, E flat, G, F. Sorry, C, E flat, F, G, B flat, and C. C, E flat, F, G, B flat, and C. Oh, I'm sorry. C, B flat. C, B flat, G. Come on. And I do not profess to be perfect at this, but I know enough of this that I can kind of eventually kind of unbox this. And first of all, I would suggest that you spend some time today kind of mapping the 3 different registers of the instrument and see how well you do as you make those jumps. And I'm not talking about the like, hey, I'm in the lower register and I just immediately move up and I play that next octave up. All right, let me take a look in the chat because I saw something move there. You're so issueless, Melissa. That's hilarious. And thanks again for the feedback there. Really appreciate that to know that things are streaming okay. And Bobby, thank you for the heads up. Oh, thank you. And Eric, thank you. Hang on a second. Let me get here so I can see this. Never, ever, come on, there we go, be bashful about asking a definition. One of my favorite things about working with Eric, he's pretty much the only student that I've ever had that asked me to go, if you will, quote unquote, backwards in the curriculum, just said, I want to make sure I get the most out of this thing. Can you unpack this some more? And it really reminded me and continuously reminds me of the tendency to be excited about moving people forward. Thank you, Brian. Much appreciated. Moving people forward. What's going on, Michael? Good morning and welcome. Thanks for hanging out. Like your avatar there. So the thing is that there are certain words that and I at some point I'm going to do. Okay, hang on a second. I need to make a note to do this. I'm just going to put it here. No, I tell you what, I'm going to do this here. Definitions. Eric Ray Vaughan. So there are a number of definitions that musically we should all know, but there's not always a great place for electric guitar players or acoustic guitar players to go to gather these resources. So one of my least favorite ones that I hear used wrong over and over, oh, it's in the second position of the minor pentatonic. And I realize, sometimes people don't know better, and I realize that, but this is not the second position of the minor pentatonic. It's the second pattern. Second position is actually technically the second fret, is what that means. 5th position, 10th position. What I have yet to find out, and I need to find somebody who knows more than I do, is as follows. If I'm playing pattern number 3 of the minor pentatonic, if you will, and it starts at the 10th fret, but it has a note that jumps down to the 9th fret, am I in 10th position? By the way, there's probably somebody here who knows, so feel free to jump in. Is that 10th position or is that 9th position? I'm going to guess that if you think about the start of your pattern, that's most likely going to be that position. But I need to do a little bit of definitive learning. But it comes from classical music and basically playing different, as I've seen it referred to as the guitar, which position you're in is relating to where your hand position is going to be, and that's a fret location. And my guess is actually contradicting what I just said. I think it's the lowest fret of your fingering of wherever you are. So this, I think, is probably going to be 9th position. This is 5th position, but I need to double check it. Maybe where you're starting on the low E string. In any case, so pentatonic is played in patterns, not positions. Now, I could play pattern number 1 at the 7th position. That would be meaning, I'm sorry, the 7th fret. Registers, basically, if you think about a register, it's referring to which range of the instrument are you choosing. And it most commonly is used in terms of your vocal register. If I think about the bottom of where my voice is, and somewhere midpoint and some point high point, I'm going through the different registers of my voice. So it basically means going from low to high. But it's a great question, and I really always appreciate how you're like, hey, what is this? That curiosity and desire to kind of build that foundation is always a great affirmation of, one, how important it is, and two, how, if I'm not careful, I can sometimes just kind of railroad, in my enthusiasm, my excitement, by something that's important. All right, so those of us who speak modes, and even those of us who are in process, ultimately, kind of, we're talking about two things here. Is one, being able to hear the sound of the mode. So one of the things I might suggest doing, as a matter of fact, this is let's see, note to self, is if you took each of the 7 these little fingerings here, and you were to take each one, I don't know, maybe you just take them relative to a key. There we go. Dean, hey, come on. Okay. That font there is about 2 points, so I'm going to read that. Thank you for jumping in. Pleasure. Thank you. When I was taught by an old jazz guy many decades ago, people who really knew what they were doing, unlike me, C major scale was played in the 8th position, which did have notes that drop below, as in that E right there, which did have notes that drop below. Position corresponds to the root note in the scale. So here's a unique subset, because quite often, as my background, and I'm not a classically trained classical guitar player. I was in the San Francisco Boys Chorus, so that's where I learned about minor seconds and augmented fifths and all of these kind of classical ear training things. And I've thought of the sound of music in terms of that nomenclature for many, 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 many decades. But the thing is, say, for example, you're in the key of C major, but you go to play in 5th position. I think traditionally it refers probably to the, as you kind of implicit in there, is the lowest fingered note. If you took the range of notes for the key you're in, what that lowest fingered note would be. So let's just say we're playing a 2nd finger root A minor scale. That A there would be in 5th position. This is obviously, this note has it down here is at the 3rd fret. But I think not only does it have to do with the root, and yes, if I were playing an A minor scale, but let's just say I'm playing relative to the key of C major, and I'm playing some melodic phrase where I start off of that A there, even though my root is actually the C, which is actually down at the 3rd fret. I think this is going to be the 5th position there. So I really appreciate that, because it's one of the things I see. I would say at least 25% of the time when people are talking about the different patterns of pentatonic, they talk about the position. Now, obviously, I don't know positions well enough to definitively say, is it in fact the lowest fingered note for whatever group of notes you're playing? And, if we thought about the A minor scale fingering, even if we're in the key of C major, that A is the fifth fret. All right. In terms of definitions, register, right? Scale degree numbers are literally kind of going, hey, if I'm playing my scale, the different degrees of the scale. And so the neat thing about that's really important is if you begin to think of something like a 3, 6, 2, 5, you're really going, hey, I'm going to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 5. And this is one of the neat things about this is that if you begin to then understand that as you build the triads off the key of any major scale, the 1 is major, the 2 is minor, the 3 is minor, 4 is major, 5 is major, 6 is minor, 7 is diminished. If you talk about a 3, 6, 2, 5 at the triadic level, you got a minor, 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 major. It also begins to give you some pretty valuable information there. If you kind of think about your 3, 6, and your 2 and your 5, is your 2 and 3 chord there are 2 minor chords a whole step apart. And this is one of the things that I'm going to jump back to this kind of ear training thing in just a moment. But in addition to being able to hear the individual notes of the scale, how do you begin to recognize what's happening chord-wise? You can go, oh, it's that. And there's this, Melissa and I leave the TV running, and it helps me sleep, just kind of having, I don't sleep well with silence, if you can imagine that. But that thing going, and there's this chord progression that is in Mixolydian. I've heard it 5 million times now, but I'm not going to be able to pull it out of my head in this moment. But the point being is I've thought about it for this live stream and with my students, is that, like I hear it and I immediately like, oh, that's Mixolydian. There are certain things that they do. The right. So I don't remember exactly how the progression goes. But there's kind of this little arpeggiated thing. Now, this is one of the interesting things. Like, well, how do you hear that, and how do you know what it is? Well, part of it is you listen for the weight of resolution. Because this is, if we think about it. What about something that doesn't start on the root, right? There's basically going 3, 4, flat 7, 1. And if you think about the modes, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, the only mode that has a natural 3 and 4 and a flat 7 is Mixolydian. So after a while, if you can begin to hear those things, even not in order, you get familiar with that. Well, then how do you learn how to do that? Well, a great way to okay. Basically, that's 1 and 2 for major, 1 and 2 for Dorian, 1 and flat 2 for Phrygian, 1 and 2 for Lydian, 1 and 2 for Mixolydian, 1 and 2 for minor, 1 and flat 2 for Locrian. And kind of to decipher that, literally, if you think about the major scale, you only have a half step between the 3 and the 4. So if you hear something, it's potentially the 1, 2, 3 and the 4, or the 5, 6. I'm sorry, I was counting my way up, I should say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 1. So that means that the thing that separates those that you're listening for is the natural 5 or the flat 5. Backing up a step, that is to say, there's two levels of really kind of making the most of the modes. One is being able to go, okay, I'm past the point where I'm kind of playing them as fingerings. Now I'm really wanting to understand what does it sound like. So the starting place is to be able to go major. That's 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, hold a 4, or half to 4, hold a 5, hold a 6, hold a 7, half to 1. Dorian, hold a 2, half to flat 3. And again, we're doing that compared to the major scale. Let me point out one last thing before I do that. If I take the major scale and I start off of its second note, and instead of playing A in the bass, I go. That's the sound of B Dorian. I gotta play the C sharp. In fact, that's actually another way that you can get there that'll be a huge help. So if you were to take, for example, and the reason I pick A is because it's a nice spread on those notes and you're not dealing with kind of the second string, which is kind of all wacky. But basically, you just kind of hold the right-handed. Can I play the right note? C sharp, Doug. And that C sharp, that G sharp right there is really wanting to take you back to A so badly. But if you hang out there long enough. Get you used to hearing the sound. We're playing the same 7 notes, but we're playing them against each one of the different bass notes, really kind of outlining major. Dorian. Lydian. Sorry, Phrygian. Lydian. I got off somewhere. Let's try that again. Major. First note, Dorian. Next note, Phrygian. Lydian. Mix in. Minor. Low-chord. Back to major. Great way to just kind of be able to use those different bass notes. Again, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Again, A, if I can play it right, A, hold the B, hold the C sharp. Because the major scale goes whole, half, whole, half. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. If I can play the right note. So on and so forth. All right, so the point being is once you've done that, major 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, instead of playing Dorian off of the B, you play it Dorian 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. Phrygian flat 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. Lydian 2, 3, sharp 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Mixed Lydian 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, 1. Minor 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. Low-chord flat 2, flat 3, 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. And you get used to kind of And there, the interesting thing about the up natural 3, that wasn't that was a perfect fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, it's a 5. All right, so at the end, kind of rolling back to where we started at the beginning, I started doing the scale singing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like I can sing it a little better. 1, 2, 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, hold a 4. Half to 4, 1, hold a 2. I'm thinking about something I saw in the chat there, and I'm trying to sing at the same time and call out scale degree numbers. Let me try that with full focus. 1, hold a 2, hold a 3, half to 4, hold a 5. Then you think about Dorian, hold a 2, half to flat 3, hold a 4, hold a 5. Phrygian, half to flat 2, hold a flat 3, hold a 4, hold a 5. Lydian, hold a 2, hold a 3, hold a sharp 4, half to 5, so on and so forth. You get used to negotiating these because you're used to singing the sound in the major scale. If you go 1, 2, 3, and then Dorian is 1, 2, instead of the 3, it's got a flat 3. And Phrygian, instead of going 1, 2, 3, it goes 1, flat 2, 1, flat 2, my bad. 1, 2 is there, 1, 2, that's a whole step, as opposed to 1, flat 2, that's a half step. And then instead of 3, it's a flat 3, 1, flat 2, flat 3, flat 2, 1, instead of 1, 2, 3, it's 1, flat 2, flat 3, instead of 1, 2, 3. And you just get used to negotiating like that, so which means if you hear something that goes da 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 na 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 na. Because you've gotten used to starting to sing that, you immediately go, oh, that's 1, 1, flat 2, 1, 1, flat 3. And if you know the notes are starting A, that's a B flat and C. Which means you can begin to bring it down to the instrument, which again is one of the other, kind of circling back on this whole Mary Had a Little Lamb business, is that we have all these melodies that we've heard for decades, but we go to play them on the instrument. We should be able to play them with ease, and we can't. And so the thing is, if we think about Mary, and we begin to think about it as 1, 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, even though there's some repeated notes there, begin to kind of go, okay, well, let's do it as an exercise. 1, G, D, E, G, C, B, A, G. Now for the key of A. Boy, this is a good exercise. A, E, F sharp, E, D, C sharp, B, A, B, F sharp, G sharp, A, F sharp, E, D sharp, C sharp, B, C. This is an easy one. C, G, A, C, F, E, D, C, D, A, B, A. Da, 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 da. The heck is that silly song? Not Mary, obviously. Mary's very serious. D, D, A, D, A, B, A, G, F sharp, E, D, E, B, E, B, C sharp, B, A, G sharp, F sharp, E. All right. All right. Hey, Rick, you're awesome. Thanks for that, my friend. Great to see you. Much appreciated. And Michael Hodge, what's going on, my man? Thank you very much. Nothing like watching an old guy scale sing. Watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. But here's the thing. Circling back to why... Jay, what's going on, my man? Great to see you. Speaking of my Easter side, I love that. Michael Jobush, what are you sharing with us, my friend? Something. Literally the best thing on TV. Rick, you're awesome. Thanks so much. Good morning, Jay. Oh, I feel like I should be revisited looking at Bjork's Army of Me. It's almost Lohengrin, but then the pull is so strong, It's not Locrian root. And this is kind of what. First of all, Sean, sorry I missed saying hello. Good morning, good morning, good morning. From the West Coast to the East Coast, hello. This is one of the interesting things about the pull of the tonic, right? So so I purposely, instead of hanging out at basically the one there of the Mixolydian, it's just like there's the tonic, right? You just know what it is. But this scale singing business is one of the big on-ramps. So backing up and backing up and backing up. The second thing I'm going to be doing title-wise for content for musicians is ear training and modal ear training and improvisation for guitar players. Because ultimately, let's just say we've taken so we take it. Don't hit the natural. Now, what about the next section? The tag, right? So the idea is we started off with the merry riff in A Phrygian there, and then we kind of, well, what's next? Where can we go with that? And then you begin to kind of go, oh, well, all right. We found kind of, if you will, the next, it's not a different register, but we kind of found the next floor to go to harmonically. And, this is the thing about a chord progression or a song. It's quite often what we're doing is we're trying to figure out, the gear is a better analogy of kind of which gear we're going to be in. So that kind of has the, like, all right, kind of we're in second gear, we're cruising. It's not like the... Gosh, that's weird. All right, yeah, well, that's what happens when we start working with parallel fifths. That's the reason in classical music, they're like, no, don't do that. Right, so you kind of heard me downshift there. So this is, I think, one of the other things that people don't think about is kind of like, how do you create, as you're kind of working on just coming up with progressions and little riffs, how do you make it so it doesn't all sound the same? Well, that dynamic upshifting and downshifting, again, you know, not just that there's an intro, but the fact that thank you, Rich. And you're like, all right, chorus is coming there. Kind of a post-chorus tag. And again, that don't hit it that hard. Kind of going, oh, what comes next? So that was building a little bit of tension. So let's just say I was going to develop that 8/8. Sorry, I'm building tension because I'm playing the 5, the flat 6, and the 5, and the 4 against the root there. And then I can move it around where instead of playing it against the root, versus so that's a good setup for the verse, if you will. So or if you will, kind of the first half of the verse. The point being is using these as a vehicle to kind of build your modal muscles. It's kind of like, okay, how do you, again, the challenge a lot of people have is like, all right, I learned modes. It feels like I'm running scales instead of making music. Well, part of that is recognizing the sound of the mode. And then having some vehicles like we started off with this 1, 7, 4 chord, then diatonically moving that to the 2. 1 on the 5, the 3, 2 and the 6, the 4, 3 and the 7, the 5, 4 and the 1, the 6, 5 and the 2, the 7, 6 and the 3, and then the 1, 7 and the 4. Just to set that up, and then I try and add a common root. So that's a 2 and the 5, losing my mind. All right, does that make sense? Okay, good. Now, Gibbs Sunday, hey, what's going on? Hang on, wait, where is it? Hang on a second. Wait, hang on. It's here. Oh, there it is. So this right here. In fact, I will open it. I think this may be the first unboxing video that I've ever done. This is a clear pickguard for this guitar. Because there are those of us that might go, you know, it's a little strange to have greenie with a black pickguard. And technically, this is a pickguard that would have been on either a Les Paul Custom, or for those of us that do 50s guitars, this would have been also on a gold top. But this guy is a clear little dealio that I ordered from Reverb that I'm going to put on here because I like having the pickguard on there. Hey guys, Gibbs Sunday, welcome. Great to see you, my man. Cool, cool, cool. Thanks for stopping by on a Saturday, no less. And yeah, this guitar is ridiculous. Holy cow! All right. Let me make sure I'm not missing any question. Gibson, thanks again for stopping by. This guitar is just ridiculous. But you would know that because you've played one, I bet. To be continued. All right. Michael, we can keep going with this all day, and with you at the helm, I totally would. Michael, very kind. Thanks so much. Much appreciated. Okay. It sounds like you're playing Mary Had a Little Lamb in different modes. That's exactly what it is. And then taking the concept of that and going, how else can we then, again, so many of us start with the modes and kind of go, I don't know, how do we kind of go to that next level? And in turn, ultimately, making music is about, if you will, upshifting and downshifting to kind of create levels of dynamics. And so, there are some simple ways of doing that. And, like, playing the blues. If you bring your dynamics down. Versus. All right, that didn't end up like blue, but I was more blues rock there, but the point being is that, wait a second. All right, one of my favorite people in the entire world. Dude, what's up? What was that photo you posted? So, Tomo, first of all, hello, great to see you. So I am in the midst of two crazy studio cleans. This room and the upstairs room, but I have this crazy vintage Ibanez pedal collection. So you posted, it was the vintage. Wasn't a 1 series, it was a 0 series pedal. No, it was a 1 series, their version of the GE7 on your social this morning. I was like, I don't actually have that pedal, but I've got a bunch of these crazy old Ibanez pedals. In any case, great to see you. Always a pleasure. And I love your posts. And good morning. Hello, or good afternoon. Holy cow. All right. So yes, the idea is Mary Had a Little Lamb in these different modes. And so, and again, the idea of being able to use a harmonic motif that we're familiar with, and in turn be able to use that to be able to go 1 1 5 5 6 6 5 4 4 3 3 2 2 1 1 1 5 5 6 6 5 4 4 flat 3 2 2 1, and in turn be able to go, well, how do we become more familiar with the note names? So G G D D G. Sorry, I transposed G D D D E E D C C B B A A G, and then A A E E F sharp E D D C sharp B B A, and then go, okay, well, what if we do that for Dorian? A E E F sharp E D D C C B B A, and we use that as a vehicle to train our ear around a musical idea, a melodic concept, a motif, if you will, that we know, since we started singing, pretty much all of us. And then we can kind of go, oh, how do we kind of unwrap some of the musical lessons that are hiding there? And the other thing about that is, like, how do you begin to kind of go and be able to play it without looking at the neck? So that's one of the big things that I'm working on, both as a player and with my students. Is kind of like, well, what happens when we actually aren't looking at the fingerboard how much of what we do when we go to play the same stuff over and over is because we look at the fingerboard and go, oh, I will cut and paste shape 101 right there. And then I'm going to cut and paste this thing because we see certain locations. But what happens? I might. Well, I looked. I might have gone if I'd been looking because I would have played something. But that'll break down the. So finding things that you wouldn't have normally played because now all of a sudden you're playing by touch. And there's a whole bunch there. I'm literally just at the edge of that because, first of all, so many of us, again, play by like, hey, I run up and down the scale. If I hit one note, the next note I'm going to play is going to be the next one above it or the next note below it. So as an end result, we either play licks that we've, that we played a million times, or as we're running, we're playing things that are next door, or we then play things that are next door. Or repeatedly that we just kind of, that again, in this particular instance, I'm just hanging out in F sharp, low and 3-note per string mode, which again, if I'm thinking about A Doran, I'll scoot to there. But if I then kind of go, okay, what happens if I play by touch? It's not always going to be perfect. You got to make a guitar face crunch your nose a little bit. All of a sudden you start playing stuff, you're like, hey. And then you begin to go out. And then when you play the things that you've practiced and you overlay them on top of the. And so getting make mistakes. If you find where you are, and if you think about Dorian 2, flat 3, 4, 5, 6, guy played a 6 instead of a flat 6, you can begin to identify. And then after a while, you're like, well, that's A, G, F sharp. Instead of an F, you're playing an F sharp, getting back to 1, 1, 5, 5, 6, 6, 5, 1, 1, 5, 5, flat 6, 5, A, E, F, F sharp rather, E, F, E, F, F, so on and so forth. You begin to have a working knowledge of like, gosh, I begin to understand it. If you think about it, it's only counting to 7, right? And once you begin to employ that, again, the challenge is how do you on-ramp it? So kind of going backwards here again, taking the key of A and just kind of going, okay, let me just kind of spend some time going through this and just really hearing how those notes function. Dr. Phil, what's going on there? Oh, there we go. Come on, raise them up. Iced cafe mocha in the suburbs of Dallas. I look forward to seeing you at the Dallas International Guitar Festival on Friday of this week at 3:30. I'm going to be sitting in with the one and only Larry Mitchell. I cannot wait. Larry has been very, very good to me, and I'm also going to sit in with him again on Sunday, but I don't know the time. So any of you that are going to be at Dallas International Guitar Festival, please make a point of saying hi. I'm not playing on Saturday. I'm going to be roaming around looking at guitars. I'm not buying any. I am temporarily, I have been curtailed in further instrument buying, but I am happily so. In any case, I digress. I can't wait to see any of you that are able to make it. This is a kind of a big deal for me. The Dallas International Guitar Festival is one of those places where so many great guitar players get a chance to play, and Larry has been really, really exceedingly good, inviting me to sit in with him at the NAMM show. I also got a chance, in case you hadn't, I shared it with you personally, but I got a chance to sit in and play rhythm guitar behind Taj Farrant, that amazing 13-year-old Australian blues player who's just crazy. So, all right, Mark Yamamoto, hello. All right, hang on a second. Let me make sure I jump back into the chat. Rick, yes, Greenie, amazing sound guitar. All right, thank you, Michael. All right. Oh, Phil, please bring your camera by all means, or your phone. Same difference. All right. Oh boy, Tomoe Sensei in the house. Yes. Holy cow. All right. So, well, first of all, I'm a DiMarzio endorser, so it's a very interesting question. And I will tell you, because one of the neat things about these hangs where we get a chance to be friends, and it's always strange when you kind of start streaming, you never quite know who's going to show up. So you're always a little self-conscious, but really the whole vibe about what I try and do is like, I'm just hanging out with my friends. So with that said, friends kind of have some of the awkward conversations. So I'm a DiMarzio endorser. Thankfully, I've been with them for a long, long time. The coolest thing that happened kind of around NAMM, in my opinion, Seymour Duncan created a 5-way switch that has an app that enables you to customize how the different positions, not to be confused with patterns, of that switch are working with your pickups. The challenge that I've got is that the guitar that's hiding over there behind the amps here is my other flying V, because there's always a flying V floating around here somewhere. There we go. But it's got a 5-way switch on it, which I love. But the ability to change the way that the positions of the switch are working is extremely exciting. And so the challenge that I've got is that, with the things that are on that instrument, which are DiMarzio pickups, and I am a DiMarzio guy, there is a guy named Steve Blucher that has designed the vast majority of the pickups that are in the DiMarzio line. That's a genius. And the Duncan stuff is great. The JB, the Duncan Custom, 2 iconic pickups. The JB in particular, Duncan Custom 2, just outstanding pickups. And, the Bonamassa pickups, although I haven't played them, I'm sure they're awesome. But the thing is that I'm kind of like putting a Seymour Duncan pickup selector in the same circuit as the DiMarzio pickups is a little close to home. So I'm kind of trying to figure out how I'm going to do that, because I really want to celebrate. Hang on, let me mute this. I'll be back in a second. Let me bring V over here real quick. Just 1 second. Let's mute this. I'll be back in just 1 second. And I can make no guarantees as to whether it's in tune or not, but always nice to give the V a chance to make a little appearance. And I have a guitar case that's showing up today that's going to enable me to bring this little guitar with me to Texas, which I'm very excited about. So, all right, so here we go. So this guitar is kind of, the neat thing is that Gary Brower and I had the privilege of being able to put this instrument together. And so we've been working on this, but one of the things that we've got a little bit of a... I mean, to do that on a Gibson, and then we've got this little... crazy guitar. But we've still got to get some of the stuff around the 5-way switch here happening. But in the neck, number 4 position. Middle position. Number 2 position. Number 1. I don't know another Gibson that does that. So I am just kind of crazy excited about this guitar. But the 5-way switch we've got, and then we've got a little one, the Sustainiac is on. We got this little thing that's happening here. That. So there's been some stuff. Ordinarily, this is not a traditional Sustainiac setup. So we're still kind of figuring out a couple little things. But the idea of being able to choose the way this switch would work and have different configurations is really cool. Brett asked a great question. Is the programmable switch only compatible with Duncan pickups? My initial take after just reading the initial blurb was that no, it's just basically any places you would drop a 5-way switch, then you can drop that in there. But that said, for those of us that use kind of crazy rigs like this inside here, where you've got a bunch of crazy stuff happening, when you use the Sustainiac, what's happening is the bridge pickup and the Sustainiac pickup are actually active at the same time, and so it means that there's some stuff happening here which is beyond my pay grade. But it means that there's some extra stuff happening. So it's entirely possible that there'd be some additional complication that switch provides that may or may not work with this particular setup. But my understanding is basically it's a drop and run. Brian Jones, what's going on? Great to see you, my friend. Always a pleasure. Eric, that is a loaded question. So I absolutely... What do you think? I absolutely love having the Sustainiac in there. And you know, this is pretty much... Rafa, what's going on, my man? Great to see you. And I start a lesson in 4 minutes, so I'm going to need to jump in just a sec. The short version is that I had... thanks, Eric. I had, and I still have actually an Ibanez lawsuit era Flying V in the bedroom. And I kind of, you know, as you've heard me say before, you can kind of slip it up between a dresser and the wall. So it's a way I can get away with it. Thank you, Eric. Much appreciated. Really appreciate the feedback. So sorry, that's 1-point font. I think if the technology goes the way it is, perhaps it would end up being entirely digital with MIDI to program the switch changes. There is a company that I'm working with called WIDI, W-I-D-I, and I've got a whole bunch of wireless MIDI widgets, and I'm in the process of... Okay, so the greatest thing about this hang is that increasingly we're also going to get a chance to talk about different things with gear and whatnot. And I've got another camera that's going to kind of be my top-down camera as I bring in different pieces of gear. And we talked a little bit about the sound of different amps. So basically, there's 16 different amps back there, and my switcher I think has eight separate amp loops. Honey, I need another switcher. That wouldn't go well right now. But the idea is that kind of getting a chance to let people hear different pieces of gear. It's also kind of what I'm going to be doing a bit in my socials. That's why I was so excited to see Tomo in here. First of all, Tomo, like myself, is a huge Pro Reverb fanatic. There's a video that Chris Buck did this week about the Pro Reverb. So there's certain pieces of gear, though, you can't just walk into a Guitar Center or find a vintage Pro Reverb. They have reissued it, but there are certain things people are like, well, what does it sound like? What kind of makes it cool? And so, that's one of the things I want to be able to do with kind of these Saturday mornings is kind of explore some gear a little bit more. It's also one of the things I'm going to do on my socials. But it was so neat to see Tomo pop in, and he posted this photo of, again, Boss makes I can see the box for it. Hang on. Jumping off screen, sorry. There it is. So Boss makes a pedal called a GE7, which is a great pedal for a number of things. 1 minute until my lesson starts. So one, this is great to put in the front end of your amplifier. Number two, it's also great to be able to, that is to say, to use as just a little EQ. Number two, it's great to be able to use as a solo boost where you're choosing which frequencies you want to boost and or cut. Number three, you can put in the effects loop of your amplifier to fine tune. Maybe your amp just is a little unclear in certain areas of distortion. So rather than cutting those frequencies before the amp, you put in the effects loop. The only thing you need to be conscious of is some amps, the effects loop is very hot. And so what will happen is on a unit like this, it will brown out, that the input, instead of being an instrument level stomp, an effects loop quite often is running at full line level. So the input can make this unit distort on input. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I need to teach. I'm going to be sitting in with the one and only Larry Mitchell at the Dallas International Guitar Festival. Any of you that I get a chance to see there, I look forward to it. I'm sitting in with Larry on Friday at 3:30, on Sunday at some time that I don't know exactly when. Larry's also playing on Saturday. I'm not sitting in with him on Saturday. I'm going to be wandering around, maybe hanging out with you. So I look forward to seeing you then. And for the rest of you, I'm not going to be here next week, but I will be here the following week. Make it a great one. Always a pleasure. Thanks so much. Have a great day. And let me get to the right window. There we go.